The Joe Rogan Experience.
If categories dissolve, especially fundamental ones, the culture is dissolving because the culture is a structure of category. That's what it is.
Right.
So, in fact, culture is a structure of category that we all share. So we see things the same way. Well, that's why we can talk. I mean, not exactly the same way, because then we'd have nothing to talk about. But roughly speaking, we have a bedrock of agreement. That's the Bible, by the way. So I just walked through the Museum of the Bible in Washington. That was very cool. It's a very cool museum.
So the structure, that's what the Bible
Yeah, it's what
provides.
I figured out. I just figured this out this week. So it was a cool thing to walk through because it's chronological. They have one floor which is the history of the Bible. But it's not exactly that. It's really what it is the history of the book. Now, in many ways, the first book was the Bible. I mean, literally, because at one point there was only one book. Like, as far as our Western culture is concerned, there was one book. And for a while, literally, there was only one book. And that book was the Bible. And then before it was the Bible, it was it was scrolls and it was writings on papyrus. But we were starting to aggregate written text together. And it went through all sorts of technological transformations, and then it became books that everybody could buy, the book everybody could buy, and the first one of those was the Bible. And then it became all sorts of books that everybody could buy. But all those books, in some sense, emerged out of that underlying book. And that book itself, the Bible isn't a book, it's a library. It's a collection of books. And so what I figured out was, partly because I was talking to my brother-in-law, Jim Keller, who's the world's greatest chip designer and has now designed a chip that's as powerful as the human brain, which is optimized for artificial intelligence learning, by the way. And so I talked to him about that. He said, "You heard of the internet?" I said, "Yeah, Jim, I've heard of the internet." He said, "This is way more revolutionary than that." So in any case, we were talking about meaning in text because we were talking about translation and the problem of understanding text. And Jim said, the meaning of words is coded in the relationship of the words to one another. And the postmodernists make that case, that all meaning is derived from the relationship between words. That's wrong because, well, what about rage? That's not words. And what about moving your hand? That's not words. So it's wrong, but part of it's right because the meaning we derive from the verbal domain is encoded in the relationship between words. So now then you think, well, let's think about the relationship between words. Well, some words are dependent on other words. Some ideas are dependent on other ideas. The more ideas are dependent on a given idea, the more fundamental that idea is. That's a definition of fundamental. So now imagine you have an aggregation of texts in a civilization. You say, which are the fundamental texts? And the answer is the texts upon which most other texts depend. And so you'd put Shakespeare way in there in English because so many texts are dependent on Shakespeare's literary revelations. And Milton would be in that category, and Dante would be in that category, at least in translation. Fundamental authors, part of the Western canon, not because of the arbitrary dictates of power, but because those texts influenced more other texts. And then you think about that as a hierarchy, okay, with the Bible at its base, which is certainly the case. Now imagine that's the entire corpus of linguistic production, all things considered. Now how do you understand that? Like literally, how do you understand that? The answer is you sample it by reading and listening to stories and listening to people talk. You sample that whole domain. You build a low resolution representation of that inside you, and then you listen and see through that. And so it isn't that the Bible is true. It's that the Bible is the precondition for the manifestation of truth, which makes it way more true than just true. It's a whole different kind of true. And I think this is not only literally the case, factually, I think it's way more true than just true. It's a whole different kind of true. And I think this is not only literally the case, factually, I think it can't be any other way. It's the only way we can solve the problem of perception.
He said it is a different kind of true, more true than true, man. See, Esau knows, all right? It just you stupid jakes don't realize the Bible is the true source. But anyway, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that is due to Yahweh Bashimi, Yahweh Shai Bashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Knows in the gospel broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh Bashimi, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. It's the Akia Mahaloya, coming back with another lesson through the Spirit. This was a damn good interview, man. This is from the Joe Rogan Experience. This guy by the name of Jordan Peterson, Realization About the Holy Bible. And he made some very key points in this interview, man, which stood out to the fact that the Holy Bible is the true book of the Most High, man. Okay, you have people that have constantly tried to debunk the Bible's fidelity or validity, so to speak, by plagiarizing other religions out of the scriptures, man, okay? And what I mean by that is the fact that you had the guys of the black unconscious community that tried to say that the Bible was plagiarized, but no, it was not. But your other texts, such as the Quran, the Hagan Igas, the Book of the Dead, okay, and you got the different books of Hinduism. You have a lot of books, okay, that come it's pretty much like a fabricated copy or a lesser carbon copy of the scriptures, man. Like the whole Quran is basically a watered down version of the scriptures, okay, because the Quran is full of lies and contradictions, and a few points in there may be on point as far as when they tell you that the children of Israel, their God or our God is the true God of the universe. That's in fact true because the Bible proves that as well. So even within the book of Hinduism and those different religions, they all go back into an account of a flood happening. So a lot of these books were plagiarized from the scriptures, okay, these other religions that I will say, but the Holy Bible itself wasn't plagiarized. And he even mentioned that was really the first book, okay, because if you think about it, in a garden, going back into the beginning, things were given orderly then, okay, but nonetheless, you always had a collection of records that men often kept, often penned or note took on certain events and historical accounts, man. Like during the time of the flood, you think you didn't have men that wrote about that? Okay? You didn't think that you had men that wrote about Sodom and Gomorrah and when the time when the prophets was on the scene? And that's the reason why you had prophets that had their particular scribes. Like, for instance, the scribe of Jeremiah was the scribe Baruch, man. And the priest Esdras, or the prophet Esdras, he was also known, I believe, as Ezra the scribe. So these men often pinpoint things and they note took and they wrote things down. Same thing when you go into the New Testament. What did Yahweh Shai go off? He went off the scrolls, man. He went off the Torah or the Torah, which means the book of the law. So the Holy Scriptures is the book. And Esau knows this, man. It's just you black unconscious guys out there and you skeptics and you atheists and Gnostics and so forth. You have a problem with the scriptures because you can't debunk it. And like the brother said, he said, look, man, we're going to be known for our wisdom of the scriptures because we're the men on the planet Earth. We're the top men. And I say that in humbleness, but we're the top men of the planet Earth that understand this Bible from front to back, man. Okay. And any man can't deal with this book for real, because this book that we're dealing with, man, it's a life force within itself. And if you don't know how to swing it correctly, you'll bug yourself out, man. You know, I remember when I first came into the truth, I was so intimidated by the scriptures because I'm like, man, you know, we had a thing. We had to read 12 chapters a day. I'm like, I can't read 12 chapters. I'm like, my attention deficit is not that great. But, you know, through the Spirit, it keeps you locked in and you do it and you find other means to make easier your studies. But just thinking of the scriptures alone and reading it and asking yourself, how can you understand this, man? You will bug yourself out, man. Because just thinking about it is mind draining. Like, because most brothers in this thing, and I'm not even gonna lie, most of us feel like we're a yardstick behind outside of what we should know. At least I believe I do. I believe I am. You know what I'm saying? I've been in the truth, 11 years, going on 11 years. Yeah, Passover will be, I think, the 11th or 12th year, 11 years. But even then, I still feel like I'm not on a level of what I should be. And most brothers suffer from that. Why? Because this book, it contains that much information and knowledge, man. And if you think about it, it's like, what the fuck? You know, but nonetheless, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, we have the understanding of this book, man. And like he said, it's a compilation of books. It's a library. Okay, so the Holy Bible is the true book of the Most High, man. All right. And what proves that, like Apostle Tar always stated, he said that one way, and he didn't say this verbatim, but from what I can recall, it was someone on the line, along the lines of this, that you can judge a book by its accuracy of historical events and prophetic events. Okay, you can measure the Bible up, and what proves its fidelity or validity is the historical accounts of these nations, man. All right, going back into the time of the Tower of Babel or Babel, going back into the flood, the garden. Okay, tracing the certain lineages of the kings, and mainly the four empires or the four beast structures, starting with the Assyrians, with the Babylonians, with the Greeks, with the Romans. Okay, the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, and the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, and you had the Assyrians as well, the Assyrian Empire. Okay, and the Greco-Roman, no, not the Greco-Roman, but the Persians and the Medes, Salakia. So you had the Persians and the Medes, you had the Babylonians, you had the Greeks, and you had the Romans. And if you study secular history and you see how the account of these events took place in history, then you will understand how these kingdoms came in power and how they fell through accuracy. And then you write about it in the Bible. And the good thing about it is that these things were foretold in the scriptures before they actually came to pass, man. Same thing in the Apocrypha, which Esau disannulled. Okay, the whole account of Alexander's 4 generals, you could read about that. Cassander, Lacedaemonius, what is it? You had Antiochus, you had Cassander, you had Ptolemy, and I believe you had his name was not Seleucid. You had Antiochus, you had fucking I gotta go back over my history, man. Fuck, this is what happens when you focus on so much shit, you forget it. You don't forget it, but you know. But basically, you had Antiochus, you had Ptolemy, you had Seleucid or Seleucus, and then you had another one by the name of Cassander. But then I think he was interchangeable with, this name start with the L. I can't really pronounce it. But you had 4 generals of Esau's empire, or of the Greeks, that dispersed, like the scriptures say, evils were multiplied in the earth. Also, they named Alexander by name. And also, if you go into Philip the Macedon, which was the father of Alexander the Great, you can read about those historical events in the scriptures as well. So that proves that the Bible is true, man. Okay, for those of you that may doubt the concept of the scriptures, you can't doubt it. Okay, but even if you do, it's because the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is generally not supping with you. All right, so I got a couple of things I wanted to go into real quick. I did a King James study. I got some scriptures here. All right, just to cut down time. But I did a definition on the meaning of biblio, okay, which goes to biblio or biblos, which means books.
Biblio.
Let me see if this thing talks. I don't think it talks. I tried to do the work. Yeah, I don't think the Google thing talk. But anyway, it says biblio or biblio, like bibliography, which is the pretty much the understanding, or like a bibliography of a person, meaning the accounts, or it's telling you about something. Okay, and what is the scriptures in reference to? Prophecy, historical events, and ultimately heritage, culture. And he mentioned that. You see what I'm saying? That's why Esau go around and he's dealing with all these archaeological digs. This is why he tried to build up or dig up these tombs of different prophets or kings, David. This is why he's discovered Pharaoh's chariot in the bottom of the Red Sea. Okay, Latin or real gold. Okay, this is why he know the historical accounts of the flood and how Noah was able to fit particular animals or all animals on the ark, man. Esau studied these things, man. And why? Because he has the resources to do so. And the Most High said that, hey, the children of the wicked, or Esau, pretty much roughly paraphrasing it, is pretty much wiser than the sons of light, than the children of light. Why? Because it is power in his hand to understand these things, or to come up with some type of information to give back to us through the spirit, so we can extrapolate on it, man. You see? That's why they call themselves the illuminated ones, the light bearers. But anyway, it says biblio comes from the Greek, where it has the meaning book. This is found in such words such as Bible, bibliographer, bibliography, and biblifying. bibliophile, Salakia. All right. But basically, man, this is what the word Bible means. It's just a compilation of books. It means book. So when you look in the in a glossary, as so to speak, or you look in the table of contents, you will see Genesis, you'll see Exodus, you'll see Numbers, you'll see Deuteronomy, you'll see Leviticus, you'll see Judges, you will see Ruth, you will see Psalms, you'll see First Kings, Second Kings. All right, you see the book of Proverbs, man. You'll see the book of Joshua, you will see the book of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel. All right, and those just to name a few of the books. All right, so Esau, he knows, man. This is the book of the Most High. So let me get a precept real quick. This is the book of Isaiah 34:16. It says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, which is the book of the Lord, the Holy Bible, man. All right. It says, and read, and no one of these shall fail. And what is it talking about? The prophecies. All right. The prophecies, because none of it is failing. If you look at the time that we've come forth in history up until 2022, hey, you can see that none of the prophecies has failed, nor are they currently failing. Okay, because the Bible talks about a globalization of digital income, okay, and of technology in this day and age. It told you about the nuclear missiles, man. 3,000, 4,000 years before they were even a thought in a man's mind, the Most High written it down in the scriptures, man. This is why the Most High said that, hey, before things I've written of them, he said, look, I declare unto you things of old that, and things that have not happened yet. He said, I do declare the end from the beginning. You see, so the Most High already had this in thought. It's just a matter of it playing out, man. So our Lord, he's badass, because who can put prophecy outside of Yahweh Bashimi Hawashai? Who put the spirit in us to understand these prophecies and these breakdowns and going into the history? Okay. And honestly, he's blessed the man with GMS with that knowledge, because the other camps, yeah, they have knowledge too, but nobody is as thorough as the great men of the great millstone. Okay, some brothers are straight teachers of history. Some brothers are teachers of wisdom. Some brothers are teachers of prophecy. Some brothers are teachers of current events. Some brothers have a little bit of all. Some brothers have this and that, man. And the talents is far diverse in this truth, And even me, myself, I like to dibble and dabble in it all, man. Like, I like to call myself, and I'm not bragging on myself or anything like that, because now I focus more on current events, but through the scriptures, man, I can get into the Hebrew, I'll get into the Greek, you know what I'm saying? I know history, I know wisdom, I can get into it all. I try to be well-rounded in all things that I've learned. But mainly I'm just focusing on prophecy because I'm ready to get the fuck out of here, man. And brothers can relate to that, So from time to time, it doesn't hurt to brush up those other parts of what But nonetheless, man, it's all about really prophesying the end of this society. But it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, and none one of these should fail. None should want our mate. For my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit have gathered them. Right, man. So, hey, the Holy Scriptures is the book of the Most High. All right. Not the Quran, not the book of the dead. Okay. None of those books that you people claim to believe in, though they are plagiarized from the scriptures, but the scriptures is not plagiarized. The scriptures is fact and truth. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, every religion have a historical account of a flood. Even Moab believe in the concept of a flood, man. Okay. So, hey, those nations was around back then, so they would know. All right. So, matter of fact, the hell, let me look up the word book real quick. All right. Go book, mass missive document, writing book, letter of instruction, the scriptures, okay? The Psalms, the Proverbs, the wisdom of Solomon, Sirach. Those are letters of instruction, the Gospels. It says written order, commission, request, decree, a legal document, certificate of divorce, deed of purchase, book, scroll, okay? Book of prophecies. This is all dealing with the scriptures, man. Okay, genealogical register. Okay, it wasn't a book of genealogy, because when you read into the scriptures, you go into Esdras. Okay, and you also go into the book of Matthew, the first chapter. All right, and you go into the book of Chronicles, man. No, the book of Esdras, and you go into the book of Chronicles. It give you pretty much a rundown on genealogical order of the men and of the kings, man, and of the prophets. And it tell you that this son begot this father, begot this son, he begot that son, and etc. Okay, so this is talking about the scriptures. The law, the book, the first 5 books of the scriptures is considered the law, even though the whole book of the Bible is the law, because precept just means command. Okay, but the first 5 books being what they call the Tanakh is the book of the prophets in the Hebrew. But if you go into the Torah, which means the book of the law, the first 5 books, okay, being Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and the book of Numbers being the first 5 books of what they call Moses. Okay, the book of poems, that's the book of Psalms. Okay, Psalms or sayings. No, Proverbs means to say, but the book of Psalms, songs. All right, the book of Kings, the book of canon, scripture, record book of the Most High. Okay, so this is talking about the scriptures, man. Okay, so it's Sapara. All right, so that's one account I wanted to bring out. I found quite interesting as well, and also I did another little study on the word. It says sacred texts of major world religions. Okay, you got a book called the Guru Granth Sahib, the Holy Book of Sikhism. Okay, all these books come from some form of Bible. All these books were inspired by the Holy Scriptures. Like he said you have a Bible, which is a base foundation, but you have a mass like plethora of these particular religious texts that come from influence out of the Bible. Why were they influenced by the scriptures? Why? Because, hey, the scriptures is the true book of the Most High, man. Okay, you can't get around that. Same thing about, okay, if you deem, let's just say Michael Jordan, right? We say he's the greatest basketball player. Michael Jordan sprung carbon copies, so to speak, man. Okay? You got LeBron James, you got motherfucking Kyrie, you got Kobe Bryant, which is probably the most accurate to the plays of Jordan from any other player that's played the game of basketball. But they all come from that particular influential source, which is the scriptures, man. Okay? Even Yahweh Shai said, hey, he said, is it not written in your law? So Yahweh Shai even quoted from the Torah, from the book, from the words of the Most High. All right? It says, significant religious texts of major religions. You got the Baha'i, which is the 7 valleys and the 4 valleys. It says these 2 are distinct texts of the Baha'i faith, written that were by Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith. It says in the 7 valleys, written in the year 1860 in Baghdad, explains the journey of the souls through 7 stages of life that focus on finding the right path. Now, of course, all this is all bullshit, is folly, okay, because they twist and turn shit, okay, like the freaking Quran, man. Hey, when that was written, like 600 AD, something like that. But the Bible was around thousands, or the scrolls was around thousands of years before that. So how the hell is the book of the Quran the book, man? Don't make any sense. It says the Tipikata was written around the 1st century BCE, which stands for before Christian era, and is authoritative mainly in the Theravada Buddhism. Who's into Buddhism? You Moabites, man. It says that focuses on the dress code, certain dietary rules to be followed in the teachings of Buddha. Okay, but when you think of laws and rules and dress codes and dietary regimens, you get that from what? The dietary laws, which is the book of Leviticus, I believe the 11th chapter, when it goes into the clean and unclean meats. Okay, I think it's the it's the book of Leviticus, the 11th chapter, because the book of Leviticus, the 13th chapter, goes into the plague of leprosy. All right, Christianity, which the Bible is not basically Christianity. Christianity is really not of the Bible if you're talking about world religion on the political stage. But the real Christians are the Hebrews. But this thing, Christianity, is not the consensus of the scriptures, man. Okay, Pastor Pork Chopping Bishop fucking Bacon, whatever the hell you want to call him, he's not an authoritative figure when it comes to teaching the scriptures. Okay, but the men of the Lord, we are the authoritative figures of teaching his manuscript. That's why the Lord called us to go out week in and week out and deal with it, man. Okay, and it is draining. Okay, the scriptures say, hey, much honey can be weary to the flesh, man. It's very draining when you try to balance knowing the scriptures and your regular life. It's all a hassle, man. Okay, because it could take a lot out of you, but that's why you got to have the Spirit constantly renewing you, man. Like living waters, as Yahweh Shai said. But it says the Bible is considered divine inspiration that records the relationship between the Most High and humankind. It says the sacred texts date back to the 4th century when the copies have been preserved by the Vatican Library, and including the holy writing related to Yahushua, it is regarded by Christians as the inerrant word of the Most High. Okay, but if you ever notice, none of these other books really claim to be the word of the Most High. Okay, I mean, the Quran in a roundabout way says it. They say Allah, which Allah just means God in the Hebrew, which means power. But overall, the scriptures make the direct notion that this is indeed the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Right? And that's a bold statement. But why? Because it withstand the test of time. All right, you got something with Hinduism. It's something called the Vedas and the Upanishads, or the Upanishads. It says it was written from the compiler around 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. It includes the original text known as mantra and commentary portions of the Brahmana. It includes 4 Vedas teaching and the procedures of wedding and Ring Veda, sacrificial rites in Yajur Veda, chanting songs of praise in Sam Veda, and philosophical and political issues are part of the Arvada Veda, okay, which none of these books really goes into prophecy. Islam, the Quran and the Hadith, okay, it says the Quran is Islam as regard of the word of the Most High that is revealed to Muhammad, which Muhammad wasn't nothing but a false prophet, okay? He was a political figure, pretty much that was set up by Jake, man, okay, in the Ottoman Empire. He wasn't anything to be regarded as something divine. Judaism, the Talmud, which is nothing but Babylonian witchcraft, and etc. So all these so-called religious books get their way, some type of form from the scriptures. They all influenced by the scriptures in a roundabout way, though they're not necessarily divine. Like the Book of Shadows, man, that's a witch book. It says the text includes magical rituals found in the neo-pagan religions known as Wicca. The Wicca movement proliferated in the early 20th century England, has now spread across the large parts of the English-speaking world. Okay, they got a movie called The Book of Shadows. Okay, and it deals with what? Witchcraft. All right. So anyway, this is the prologue of the wisdom of Yahushua, or Sirach, the son of Sirach. Okay, people get it mixed up. But it says, whereas as many great things have been delivered unto us by the law and the prophets. Okay, and what did the prophets quote? Hey, they wrote the scrolls, didn't they? And these are the things we're reading today, known as the Bible. It says, and by others that have followed their steps, for by which things Israel ought to be commended for learning and wisdom. It says, and were not of only the readers must need become skillful themselves, because it's a skill into breaking down this book, man. Okay, that's why it's much tiresome when you go into the scriptures, man. Okay, it builds you up, but at the same time, sometimes you got to step away and let your strength build up, man. Because if you in it 24/7, you will literally bug yourself out, man. You know, if you're not in it enough, then you get weak. So you have to balance it. And it says, it says, not only the readers must need become skillful themselves, but also they that desire to learn be able to profit them which are without, right? Meaning that we have to be able to teach this word to others, man, both by speaking and writing. My grandfather Yahushua, when he had given much himself to the reading of the law, okay, and the prophet and the other books of our fathers, and has gotten therein good judgment, was drawn on himself to write something pertaining to learning and wisdom. It says, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn and are addicted to these things might profit much more in living according to the law. Wherefore, let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us when we may seem to come short of some words which we have labored to interpret, right? Because, you know, after a while, when books or words are translated into other words, they oftentimes lose their power and meaning. Like in the scriptures, you can find different translations of the word world. Okay, you got cosmos, which is a particular order or arrangement of people or government. You got oikoumene, which means the whole known concept or world. And then you have what they call eon, which means the age. Okay, so in each of these languages, these words have their own particular word. But when you translate it to the English language, so to speak, you lose power in the meaning of those words, because now three different definitions of a derivative of one particular word now becomes one word. So therefore, you could just read John 3:16 and totally go off because you don't understand what it's talking about here, which proves that you Christians, you don't have the understanding of the scriptures, man. Okay? And it says here, for the some things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them, right? So, prayer, for example. Now, it's true, every brother don't know Hebrew like that. We understand that it's through the Spirit. But like I said, the name of Yahweh Shai in Hebrew, you can't say Jesus, okay? You can't say Yeshua, or you can't say Yahuwah. Yahweh and Yahuwah, it's two different, it has two different vibrations to it. Jehovah. No, man. Lord's name is not Jehovah. The Most High's name is Yahweh, and his son name is Yahweh Shai. You see how much power that hold? It just sounds different. And most people ain't running to the name of the Most High, man, though it's been hidden in plain sight. And it says, uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue, have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language, which is the Hebrew. It says, for an 8th and a 30th year coming into Egypt, and Euphrates was king, and continuing there some time, I found a book of no small learning. Therefore, I thought it must necessary for me to bestow some diligence and travail to interpret it, man. Like I said, it's a job, man. This is a job. This is an effort. Okay, this is not a light thing, being able to handle these scriptures. It's not light at all. Okay, this is a heavy burden, man. And only certain men were meant to carry it. And I pray to the Lord that, hey, I can carry this burden all the way to the end because, hey, what Yahweh Shai say? He said, cast your burdens upon him, man. And it's a beautiful burden to carry. You just got to want to do it and be found worthy to do it. Because honestly, none of us are really worthy to interpret these things and break them down when you understand the meaning of it and learn to appreciate it. Okay, most Jakes don't appreciate the scriptures, man. They don't appreciate it. They look at it as a chore and a strenuous topic, man. And it shouldn't be that way, but it can be. It says with diligence and travail to interpret it, using great watchfulness and in skill in that space to bring the book to an end and set it forth for them also, which in a strange country are willing to learn. Okay, we're in a strange country now. We're willing to learn the scriptures. So this is prophetic in itself. And you can interpret this too as being at that time, because he did say it to Egypt, which was technically a strange country to Israel, but that's where we became a nation, so to speak. But we in modern day Egypt. But it says being prepared in manners to live after the law. All wisdom coming from the Lord and is with him forever, right? So that's the point. All wisdom come from Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, man. And Yahweh Shai being the word of the Most High. So it's a beautiful thing. And like I thought that interview was quite interesting, man. So this is the book of John 1:1. It says, in the beginning was the word of the Most High, or was the word, and the word was with the Most High, and the word was the most, or the word was the power. It should be read, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with the power, and the word was power. Okay, now you go into that word God, it goes into Alahayim, which means power. Okay, because Yahweh Shai was that first prototype spirit that was created of the Most High, which was the word of the Most High. And then you had the elect that come out of the powers or are of the Alahayim, which means powers. Okay, and it says the same was in the beginning with the power, and all things were made by him, and without him was nothing anything made that was made. And in him was life, and the life was the light of men. Okay, and the light shined in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not, right? Because they can't understand the words of the Heavenly Father, man. It's times that this word goes over our head, and we have to constantly read it and study it diligently, man, to understand, like, okay, what the hell is going on? Sometimes I have to read a chapter 3 or 4 times before my mind stopped playing tricks on me, man. Because you got to understand, too, we've been part of a world that's totally fucked up our thought patterns. ADHD, the school system, certain foods and shit like that. It makes it that much harder to really get and indulge in these scriptures, man. And this is why prayer and meditation is needed. You clearly need the Holy Spirit to aid you through these scriptures, man. If you ain't got the Holy Spirit, then good luck. Couple more precepts here. And like I said, I just did a quick search on verses about book, like Genesis 5:1, it says this is the book of the generations of Adam. Okay, this is the book. Okay, meaning that there were records of what happened at this a particular account. Like the man said, they was written on scrolls, and then they were compiled into a collection of books, which get the term Bible. It says, in a day that the powers created men in the likeness of the power made he him. Okay, Exodus 17:14, and Yahweh said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And the scriptures goes into Esau being destroyed, man. All right. Exodus 24:7. He said, and he took the book of the covenant, which is the law, okay, and the covenant he made into Israel, and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, all that Yahweh have said we will do and be obedient. Okay. So this was the vow that we made through blood with the Most High, man. We promised to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And it was read to Jake. Okay. And what happened? Jake broke the holy covenant, which leading to our predicament now. All right. And Jake didn't follow the covenant, man. Okay. Exodus 32:32, it says, yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of the book which thou hast written. Okay. You go into the book of life. Okay. It says those that should add into this book, him should be adding to the plagues and should be blotted out of the book of life. Okay. It's scriptures that go into that, man. And those that should be found written in the Lamb book of life, which is the Holy Scriptures, man. All right, and just a couple more precepts down here, man, but I ain't got to get it all. We get the point. You got the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Okay, now check this out. This is what they would consider a glossary or a table of contents, right? You got Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. You got Judges. Then you got 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. Then you got 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles. So even within other books of the Bible, they documented and brought up these other books. Like even the scriptures go into the book of Yasher. They talk about how that was a book. Okay, which we don't have that book right now. In the book of Yasher that they have out, we speculate highly through the spirit and among, certain elders study and through their testimony that that's not the real book of Yasher. Okay, now you got to be careful too. When you download some of these Bible apps, if you don't pay attention, you will see that book. You'll see the book of Enoch. You'll see the book of Yasher and all these other things. They try to incorporate that in there. But you got to be careful reading those books because they don't align up with the canon. Okay, they don't. But I'm going to just end it there, brothers, giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bashim, and Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, a great millstone. Peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect. And with that, shalom. I'm going to share this video in the description. Lord's will I remember. But anyway, shalom and a baba ball.